Yesterday we did a quiz, and your next quiz is May 3rd. Okay, I think it's a Friday. If you need virtual tutoring, let me know. You can get hours, you can get help from the comfort of your own home, right? All right, especially if you need attendance hours. So people are finishing quizzes while they're doing that. We don't touch them. That's what friends do. All right. So, did you write your own definition of volume? Volume is the space inside of a 3D figure or a solid space inside of something. Okay, it's three-dimensional. That's the main thing for today. You wrote holiday for Friday, and we're moving on. So, time for these notes. Let me pass these out real quick. Black binder, there in the corner. There we go. So I have a demonstration to show y'all today, so just make sure you're following along. Ready? Okay, so first of all, volume is 3D space inside of a solid figure. Looking up here, writing this down, everybody. So, number one, what are the formulas for two shapes? Today we're talking about these two shapes, cylinder and a cone. Cylinder and a cone. Cool. Now, the cone formula is 1/3 capital BH. The cylinder is volume equals capital VH with no fraction. On number two, go ahead and write V stands for volume. Capital B stands for area of the base. H stands for height. All right. Now, here's the deal. For these shapes, for the cylinder and the cone, what kind of bases do we have here? What shape is that? Circle, right? So if we have a circle, capital B, the area of the base is going to be, go ahead and write this down, for a cone and a cylinder, capital B for a circle is going to be pi r squared. That's how you find the area of a circle. Now look at number 3 and number 4 here. What is the only difference between those two formulas? So clearly, they both have capital BH, but this one on the cone has a 1/3. So the cone has a 1/3, the cylinder does not. Okay, and then we already said, what do we notice about the two bases? In these shapes that I'm holding, okay, we said they're both, not only are they circles, but they match up perfectly, okay? I don't know if y'all can see that, but they match up perfectly, and they're the exact same height. I don't know why this is so blurry. Well, but yeah, they're like basically it fits inside of each other perfectly. It's the exact same height. How do I show this? There we go. Okay, y'all see that? So same exact circle, same exact height of this cone and this cylinder, okay? So that's what we notice about the two solids, that they have the same height and the same base. Cool? Now, Here's the question on letter B. It says, how many cones of, it says rice. Now look, what's tomorrow? Why don't we have school tomorrow? Fiesta. So, you know what I made for y'all to celebrate? Rice and beans. Y'all like rice and beans? I got you a whole bag of rice and beans. Raw rice and beans. Delicious, right? Okay. Anyways, why do I have rice and beans? Because I'm going to show you something, okay? We don't do enough demonstrations in here. So I'm going to blow your mind with a demonstration. But first, like any good science experiment, we need to predict. Now look, if I were to fill this cone up with rice and beans, how many of these cones do you think would pour into this cylinder to fill it up to the top? So who thinks 2? Anybody think 3? Anybody think 4? Anybody think more than 4, like 5 or more? Let's see, okay? So, let me get my slaved away making this these rice and beans, you know what I'm saying? All right, I'm filling up my, all right, now I got a cone. I got a cone full of rice and beans. Delicious. Just want to, anyways. So I'm going to take the cone of rice and beans, pour it in the cylinder with the exact same base and height. Now, look. I don't know if you can see that. Now, is that halfway? Less than halfway? Quarter maybe? So if it's a quarter, then it'd be 4, right? Let's find out. It's not equal, right? So it's not just 1. So a cone is not equal to a cylinder. I think we all knew that. But let's put some more rice and beans in my cone. Does it make you hungry or what? If I made rice and beans, would y'all eat it? No? Dang. All right, so we got another cone of rice and beans. We put it into our cylinder with a few grains on the ground. Getting there. All right, not all the way. All right, let's do another cone. Might be 3, might be 4. We don't know. We don't know until we know, right? Oh my gosh, I spilled it. All right, so another cone. We fill it up. And what do you know? Perfect! To the top. How many cones fit into one cylinder with the same base and height? How many was it? 3, not 4. 4 would be overflowing, but this is perfect. Anyways, all right, so check it out. You may have guessed 2, 3, or 4, but the answer is 3. Now let me show you something that you already wrote. There was a clue in this formula. What does this say right here? 1/3. That means it's literally 1/3. So like I kind of gave it to you already. Sometimes we copy without thinking. So yeah, a cone is literally 1/3, which means 3 of them make a whole cylinder. Okay, so that's cool. Whoop. So go ahead and fill out this bottom part, and then you can flip it over. Okay. So we said letter A, the bases and the height are the same. We predicted how many would fit. The answer was 3. Now, number 6, that means the volume of a cylinder is 3 times as much as a cone with the same base and height. That means the volume of a cone is 1/3 of a cylinder with the same base and height. So now I'm going to show you how to use these formulas on the back. Just make sure you have that written down, and then you can flip it over. What? What? No lead, sorry. Unfortunately. All right, so I'll put all my rice and beans back. Anyone want to taste the rice and beans that I made for y'all? No? Real quick, because we're doing notes. Okay. Well, let's do this. On the back. Y'all ready for the back? Flip it over. All right, number 1. What is that shape? Y'all know that's a cylinder when it looks like a can? the back. Okay. Real quick, let's go. Number 1 on the back. We just said it's a cylinder. And so from the front, we know that the cylinder is just going to be, sorry, my bad, it's going to be B equals capital BH. Okay? Now, before we can find B, we need to know R. So what's the radius of the base from the center to the edge? 3. What's the height of the whole cylinder? 4. And to figure out big B, didn't we already write this down up here? To find capital B, pi r squared is the area of a base circle. So pi r squared. So we're going to do pi 3 squared for the base. Now look, I did this earlier. I got 28.27. So far so good. I know my R, my H, and my B, so now I can do the volume formula, which is capital BH. So I'm going to do 28.27 times the height, which is 4. So I did that earlier, and I got 113.097, which rounds to 113.1. Now, real quick, is everyone looking up here? Look. What are the units of measure? So I can see it says feet, right? But we've never done volume. Surface area would be feet squared. But instead of squared, we know that volume is 3-dimensional. So it's going to be to the power of 3 when we do volume. It's going to be feet cubed, or another way to say that is cubic feet. Does everyone see that? So area was when we did all the squared units. Now for volume, new thing, cube units. 3 is the power. Now, here's the deal. On all these problems, off to the right, they're going to ask you, given what you just found, can you do the same thing with the other shape? So given a cylinder's volume, can you go back to a cone? Now look, we're reminding you, if you go from a cylinder to a cone, is that getting bigger or smaller from here to here? Smaller, right? So we know it's by 3, so do you think it's going to multiply or divide to get smaller? Divide by 3, okay? So whenever you have a cylinder and they're asking you, hey, find a cone with the same base and the same height, cylinder to cone, you're going to divide by 3. So what's 113.1 divided by 3? Given the cylinder we just found, to find the cone with the exact same base and height, instead of having to type it all back in, you can just take that volume and divide it by 3, which I did, and I got 37.7 once it rounds. What are my units of measure again? Feet cubed. Cool. All right. Do you want to use that binder with the notes? You working on the quiz though? If you're done, you can turn in. Number 2, what is this shape? It is a cone. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes, this is a cone. And how do you find the volume of a cone? We said it's 1/3 big BH. Now, does everyone see that this cone is sideways? You gotta like look at it sideways, or imagine that it's upright, okay? Now, to do this, we need to find the radius and the height to figure out capital B, which we said is pi r squared, right? Now here's the problem. What's the radius? Do you see a radius on here? I mean, I see it, but I don't see a number there, right? Anytime you're missing something, you're probably going to have to use Pythagorean theorem. Hate to say it. So if you don't like Pythagorean, it's going to haunt us continually. So off to the left here, I'm going to set this up as a Pythagorean theorem problem. Let me show you the right triangle. It goes right here, 24. This is my x, and then the hypotenuse across is going to be 25. Okay? Do you see that we have a 24, x, and 25 right triangle? So I want to use my a squared plus b squared equals c squared Pythagorean theorem. We have a and b next to 90. C is across from 90, right? So it's going to be 24 squared plus x squared equals 25 squared. You have to use Pythagorean theorem to figure out the radius. It's not there and you can't just guess it. Okay, you got to figure it out. So once we set it up correctly, like this, let's figure out that radius by squaring 24 and squaring 25, which I did here. So I got 576 plus x squared equals 625. I'm solving for x, so on the left, I'm going to subtract 576 on both sides. X squared equals, when you subtract, you get 49. Last step to get rid of a square. Does everyone know the opposite of square is square root? What's the square root of 49? Yeah, x equals 7. That means up here, the radius is 7, okay? You have to do that if you're missing the radius. I've said it, and I'm saying it again. If you're missing the radius, this is how you do Pythagorean. What's the height of the cone if it's sideways? Okay, so from the base to the vertex going through the center is what? 24, okay? 25 is on the slant, that's not the height. 24, you see that line is going through the center. The height is 24. So if I'm going to do pi r squared, that's going to be pi 7 squared, because r is 7. Pi 7 squared is 153.94. When I plug it in, and now I can do my formula for volume. So volume, we said, is 1/3 BH. So it's going to be 1/3. Big B is 153.94 times the height, which we said was 24. And that'll give me my volume. So earlier in my calculator, I did 1/3 using control divide times 153.94 times 24, and I got 1,231.52. My units of measure are inches, what? What goes next to inches? The little 3, right? Cubed. Okay, so this one is backwards to number 1. If you start with a cone and I want to figure out the cylinder, is it getting bigger or smaller from cone to cylinder? Bigger, right? The cone is less than the cylinder. It's by 3, so instead of dividing this time, we're going to multiply by 3. So to go from a cone to a cylinder, it's going to be times 3. So I'm going to take the volume we got times 3 to get my volume of a cylinder. I did that earlier. I got 3,694.56. And again, it's inches cubed. Cool. All right. Now I showed you one example of each. Okay. I think that's enough to get started on the assignment because we have a shorter class. But I will put on the board the rest of the notes so you can write it down so you have those examples. Make sure you have this stuff written down. Sure. You can finish the notes. Does everyone have this, or can we move it to the next one? If you would like to write down the rest of the notes, I'm going to put it on the board. It is more of the same, so it's okay if you don't. I get it. But I'm going to put it on the board. Does anyone still need number 2? Okay, so here's 3 and 4 for your completion of the notes. Okay. The assignments you got, you can work on today, and then we'll have time on Monday. Remember, no school tomorrow. Viva Fiesta. Viva Fiesta.